Rice is normally grown in lowland areas that are flooded by irrigation or naturally by rainfall. Once planted, it takes anywhere from 3 to 6 months to be ready for harvest after seedlings are transplanted to the fields. Rice cultivation is not new to Jamaica. During the 1970s and 80s, rice farmers supplied close to 25% of the rice consumed on the island. Today, virtually all of the 100,000 tons of rice consumed yearly is imported. A new effort by the government, however, seeks to reduce this dependency on imports for the grain by re-engaging local farmers in rice production. This forms part of government's food security strategy, where several lucrative agricultural ventures have been identified for promotion and expansion. As a result, rice is now one of the crops being looked at under the Grow What We Eat What We Grow campaign.
We are looking now as a government, in keeping with our food security thrust, to re-engage rice production as long as it can be proven that it can be a viable option for our farmers, for those who are involved.
There is money to be made from local rice. Based on a study commissioned by the Ministry of Agriculture, there is a ready market for the commodity, and so the capacity to produce it locally provides a good opportunity for interested farmers with access to land to earn an income by meeting some of the demand. For this reason, the Research and Development Division in the Ministry of Agriculture, with the support of the Agricultural Support Services Project, established trial paddies of some 9 rice varieties at the Bodles Research Station in St. Catherine. The results will help the Minister of Agriculture to make an informed decision as to whether rice production can resume in Jamaica.
There are a couple of varieties, 2 or 3 varieties of the 9 varieties that have yielded results that we are encouraged by, and we are gathering all the necessary data to ensure that we have best practices so that if and when that decision is taken, we can provide the technical support in the field to farmers.
Major rice growing areas have been identified in St. Catherine, St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland. Each has vast acreages with unique features. St. Elizabeth's sprawling plains are ideal. Westmoreland, with its flatlands, has great potential. So too has St. Catherine, with its vast acres of silty clay soil, well suited to growing rice. The Minister of Agriculture is hopeful that the results from the trials will prove that it is feasible to resume rice production, and that this will allow the country to meet 10 to 20% of the yearly demand within 2 to 3 years.
Even if the cost of production is not equal to those countries that are growing hundreds of thousands of acres, we still believe from a strategic perspective it is in the interest of Jamaica, in the interest of our food security, for us to have at least a certain quantity that is produced by ourselves. As you know, every Jamaican eats rice, or most Jamaicans eat rice. It is a staple, and therefore the demand is always going to be there.
Already, the plan to re-examine commercial rice production has stimulated the interest of major private sector companies. In a show of support, the Jamaica Broilers Group of companies has provided financial assistance to put 25 acres of land into cultivation. In addition, another 150 acres have been earmarked as a possible push start in anticipation of the possibilities for wide-scale production. The rice field, established in partnership between Jamaica Broilers and the government, forms part of the trial and will provide important data for possible commercial production.
It requires particular techniques, and that is what we're trying to perfect here at this experimental plot. It requires, for our conditions, certain varieties, and that's why we're looking at the 9 varieties that we're experimenting with here. Some will not work under these conditions, others will work.
When you thresh it, you have about 80-something% recovery.
The experimental plots allow agronomists to compare and analyze the qualities of the rice varieties, such as their resistance to disease. Those varieties which are most efficient in terms of maturing early with high yields and significant nutritive value will be introduced to farmers. The demonstration of rice planting through these established pilot paddies advances the steps being taken to re-establish rice production in Jamaica and to promote food security, especially in light of the current global economic crisis. Senior agronomist in the Ministry of Agriculture, Carla Douglas, gives an update on the progress of experiments on the 9 rice varieties.
In terms of an early maturing variety, there is the Sibonnet. It is actually one of the dwarf varieties. It's very short, so it's going to give a problem in terms of harvesting, but in terms of days to maturity, it's the shortest thus far. In terms of those hills having a lot of rice hulls on them, the Adron 125 is looking very promising. But in terms of a variety now that will ratoon, meaning once you harvest it and you give it water and fertilizer, it will bear again without having to replant, the Prosekisa 4 is the best because it's the only variety that ratoons. And that will help the farmer who is going to try to cut back on costs. Instead of having to get seeds over and over again, it will ratoon at least 4 times. So that is a cost-saving variety right there.
Experts from major rice-growing countries such as Brazil, Japan, Guyana, the Dominican Republic, as well as countries in Africa, are providing technical support for Jamaica's rice cultivation effort.
We also are getting some support from the Chinese in terms of equipment, and therefore combined all the critical support that we're getting along with the Ministry of Agriculture, Bodles, ASSP, I think we are onto something good. I think there's definitely encouraging signs.
Under the charge of the Research and Development Division at Bodles, technology to enhance rice production is also being developed. Lead agronomist looking at rice production, Jervil Weir, shows us low-cost welded tools that can improve sowing and fertilization in the rice cultivation process.
We have designed here a spraying system whereby instead of using that one nozzle all day long, trying to go through the rice field, we have designed one that has 7 nozzles on it. And so you'll have one man stay here with the same spray pan that was used for the one nozzle, adapted to this. And another man stay over there. And you just walk across the field. In areas where you have large acreages, we always use aircraft to plant those rice, or we can use the fertilizer spreader that is over there to broadcast the plant. This machine, it is designed especially to work in the wet field with pre-soaked seeds. As you can see, it has some uppers where we put the seeds in, and we cover there. And it can plant 8 rows at a time. 8 rows at a time. We put in the seed, we close the hopper, and we just walk across the field like this, and the seeds will be falling out. This machine could plant 1/4 acre per day.
A demonstration shows the use of a tractor to flood rice paddies. This significantly reduces labor and is less time-consuming.
We have what is a pump, about a 15-foot long pump, operated by the tractor PTO. You know, the tractor, it provides a multiplicity of functions. It can chop, it can weed, it can plow, it can harrow, and in this instance we are using it to operate the pump to pump the water. Any ordinary welder in Jamaica can do this. This one was imported from Guyana. Essentially, what is made up of is just a whole differential of a truck, a Beckford truck. It has a gear here, a spline here, and you have the PTO shaft that goes to the tractor. Then you have a universal joint right here. Then in it is just a shaft, and at the end of it is a shaft, and at the end of the shaft out there is a screw right at the head there. So it's like an auger, and it starts to take in the water just like this here and carry it up, and it exits through there. And with the PTO and the power of the tractor will determine the amount of water that is going to be shoot out of the mouth of there. It is very efficient, like I said, because if you have this pump working all night, it would pump approximately 30 acres of water 6 inches deep.
This business of growing rice is considered to be profitable, as under favorable conditions, investors can recover their investment within a relatively short period. Farmers who were previously in the business, and new ones too, are excited by the focus being placed on rice production and are positioning themselves for possible resumption of cultivation before year end.